Hey everyone, Liam here and welcome to this match preview and prediction for the match between Holger Rune and Khachanov in the semi-finals of the Barcelona Open. Let's get into it. Before we get into the video, as always, if you enjoy the content on the channel, please like and subscribe. Really helps us grow the quality shot tennis community. It's a matchup in the semi-finals that, I wouldn't have said at the start of the week would be what I would be expecting in the semi-finals, just because of the fact that, Holger hasn't really been at his absolute best coming into this tournament, and Khachanov really hasn't shown much form in 2025. He's had a few losses here and there, which, you would say a few years ago, maybe he wouldn't be losing those matches. But here we are, they've had a good run, both of them. Karen Khachanov in the quarterfinals, being able to beat Alejandro Davidovich Fokina on home soil. So, one of the, it's I would say, in terms of, status win, it's not, the biggest status win, but it is also, it's a confidence booster, I would say, for him. It's his first semi-final so far, and he's been able to really, I would say, be a little bit more calm and decisive with his tennis. Sometimes, I would say so far this season, he's been a little bit too error prone. He was quite focused and quite consistent in this match, and I think against a guy like Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, you really need to make sure you are consistent, because he's a good baseliner, and he did just make the semi-finals of Monte Carlo, so he is in good form as well. And the fact they did it in straight sets as well is a very big factor. I think it's something that you would really try and build upon, going into the semi-finals. You win your quarterfinal match in straight sets, you're sort of feeling confident in your game, and you're just trying to build on that momentum. Maybe not just for this tournament, but for the rest of the clay court season, you would say. He is going to have tough opposition, of course, because he is facing against Holger Rune, who, has had good success on clay in the past. He's beaten some big names on clay. He's reached the finals of a few Masters 1000s on clay. So he's definitely got the know-how to play really good on this surface. Against Casper Ruud, the defending champion here in Barcelona, he did just that. It was a very good performance. I was quite impressed, especially he was dictating play, especially a lot on the backhand side, which I liked a lot. He wasn't afraid to go for his shots, but he was also not trying to kill the ball too much. He was playing with margin, but also just moving Casper enough around the court to make sure he had the angles and he had the openings he needed to win the points. I think coming into this one, of course, these are two players who, are regularly into these quarterfinals and, second, third round of quarterfinals of these, Masters 1000 events or ATP 500 events. So you would have thought that these two would have faced each other before. They've not. This is their first official ATP Tour meeting, and it's going to be an interesting one in that sense, because, we don't know what to expect with these matchups, how they sort of come about. In my opinion, the way that obviously Karen played against Davidovich Fokina was great. Really solid tennis, something that really gets you going and consistent, focused, aggressive, but not controlled aggression. Whilst Holger, I think, put on a better performance. Although Casper Ruud hasn't really been at his absolute best either, he is still a player who had a 6-1 head-to-head lead against Holger Rune, and Rune really just showcased, played that match as if there was no head-to-head lead there. He just was controlling from the start. So realistically, I think that match is going to be a better benchmark to say, okay, well, who's played better in the quarterfinals coming into this semi-final? I think Holger has, and I think it's going to be an interesting one, just because of the fact that, they'd never played before. So sometimes even though player A is better than player B on a paper basis, when you put them together in an actual matchup, and the playing style sometimes doesn't really work. I think Karen's going to be, just trying to stay in the rally, build the point up, play it long, and then Holger's going to try and finish the point a little bit earlier. Holger's probably better at finding the angles and really sort of trying to move Karen around and then going for the opening when he can, whilst Karen is just going to try and wear Holger out. So as long as Holger doesn't make too many mistakes in this match and sort of keeps his unforced errors count low, he should be getting through this one and getting into the final here in Barcelona. It's going to be a tight one though, so I think Holger gets himself into the final in 3 sets.